Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday. We finally made it out here to the weekend. It is the Earthmaster here. Friday, March 29th, 2024. It's about 11:31 here in the AM. California time. Latest activity shows a 5.1 coming in to the area just south of the Philippines and to the Indonesia Islands area. Let's go ahead and check out the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. Got some ramping up going on out here in the central mid-Atlantic ridge. Pretty decent swarm of earthquake activity out here this morning with a couple fives, including a couple fours out here. It's been a little while since we've seen any movement out there in the divergent boundaries out here across the oceanic crust. Looks like that is kicking up, though, today. Also did see some larger movement overnight there outside of the Greece area. A 5.8 coming in just after midnight my time, 25 kilometers deep. Looks like prior to that there was a 4.1, literally within about seconds of each other. This area can see some large damaging earthquakes historically. As you can see here on the historical map, large earthquakes are quite common out here across this area. But it's been a little while since we've seen any decent large-size quakes out there. Kind of curious to see when the last one was. So let me pull up the last. We're going to go 4.5 and above, and we are just going to go way back in time here on this Friday to the year 1000. I don't think it's going to show the year 1000, but it will at least give us a little indicator. Let me see exactly where we're at once again here. Got a little sidetracked. So just outside of the Ionian Sea region, right about here in this area. It does look like it's around the Trench region. 44 kilometers deep and 25 kilometers deep for those two earthquakes. So could be associated there with that trench. So let's pull this up here and see what we got historically. Again, 4.5 and above, probably going to be a lot out here. It's taken a long time, so I knew it was going to be a lot. That's a lot of earthquake activity. 1,472 earthquakes there, just in that little box I made. So it looks like today's earthquake there, 5.8. The last similar magnitude of that in that region there, let's see what we got. We had a 5.5, a little bit closer inland. Let's see, 6.0, a little bit further down here across the Trench area back in 2019. Let me zoom in here and just look at these. 6.2 back in 1919 within the same area as today's 5.8 earthquake. About 15 kilometers deep for that one. Well over 100 years ago. And some other quakes out here. So as you can see, there's definitely some consistency out here with terms of earthquake activity. As far as the largest one listed in this cluster, let's see what we got here for the latest or the largest. 7.3 back in 1947. That is a pretty big earthquake and not quite 100 years. Still got a little ways to go before the 2047. Goodness, that'd be crazy. And some other sixes out here as well. So earthquake activity does happen out here. It's just been a little bit shaking things up out there across the Greece area. Let's see if anybody felt that. I'm sure they did. At least for the folks that are reporting here to the USGS map, looks like some light shaking out there across the area of Greece. All right, what else we got here across the map as far as new activity goes? Seeing some movement. There's that 5.1 into the Molucca Sea area, it looks like, just north of there. Actually within it. 102 kilometers deep. That's associated with the trench right here, the Philippine Trench, the southern end. Let's see, is this a deep earthquake here or shallow? Shallow earthquake. This is a region that's seen the larger activity here. I believe it's been in the last week. Maybe it's been over that. Last 30 days. There we go. Yeah, it's back in the 22nd, so over a week ago. Seen some interesting large earthquake activity out here. Very shallow there in the Java Sea. Most of the time when we see large quakes here on this area of the map, it's going to be deep into the regions here. So a little odd to see some shallow earthquake activity out there in the larger size like we seen there a week ago. But for today, 4.5, roughly in that same area where that 6-pointer struck. Mariana Trench, most of this movement here from last night, really haven't seen any further uptick here across the area. Today's activity looks like it's mainly confined back building here across the Tonga Trench and the Kermadec Trench, and kind of crunching up here across the area of the Philippines northward. But this area has filled in, it looks like, for now. Still lacking activity up here across the Kuro Kamchatka. Down here across the Kermadec Trench, let's see what we got. We did have a 5.4 around the Kermadec Islands. Very shallow earthquake here up across this ridge area. The subduction zone is right about here, but we do get some large, deep earthquakes here in this area, but that's actually a rather shallow one. And further down into New Zealand, still seeing a handful of earthquakes there across the area. Some deeper movement quakes there as well underneath the North Island area. It's just been a consistent thing. Still waiting for some subsequent movement there across the area. We really haven't seen anything in terms of larger movement. Look at this 5.6 here. Super deep earthquake. That's going to be right here. 576 kilometers here into the subduction zone, well underneath the Bismarck Sea area. I mean, that's a super deep earthquake. That one coming in about 3 o'clock this morning, so that it looks like we're seeing some of the effects of that already. Most of the time we'll add strain here across the plate boundary and the regions here. And of course up along the subduction zone area itself, which we really haven't seen too much activity yet. Let me see what we got here. So there's today's quake, very deep. The dark circles here indicating deep earthquake activity, moderately deep earthquake activity, and of course the surface adjustment here across the subduction zone. Those are that's where the large earthquakes can take place. So we'll continue to watch that. It does look like the pressure transfer has migrated along the plate boundary over here, but we'll still keep an eye across this area of the subduction zone, across this region right here. Pretty decent subduction zone area. South America, fairly quiet today down there. Only a handful of smaller quakes. There's the Atlantic Ocean activity still continuing. And looks like Puerto Rico swarming out here a little bit. Let's see what's going on here across the Puerto Rico area. Of course, when the divergent boundary activity stirs up, you got the spreading seafloor center out here, so we should see some potential elevated activity here across Puerto Rico. Swarming going on, it looks like here this morning so far, a couple twos. Nothing big. Of course, a major subduction zone over here. Underneath the Venezuela area, looks like a couple fours from yesterday. Nothing new to report there in that area. Looks like a 4-pointer there in the Gulf of California. Let's go ahead and check out the states, see what's going on up here. New Madrid seismic zone, a couple earthquakes there from yesterday. The majority of these quakes look like they are from yesterday. It doesn't look like anything new coming in here to the area. A little earthquake out in the Mexico area as well from yesterday. A handful of smaller quakes here from today in the oil fields of Texas, but really nothing new going on down there. Yellowstone National Park, there's nothing showing up here aside from a very small microquake from yesterday, but we did have some activity here today. Let me make sure I got the most recent data, and I think you guys can see it. It looks like it's stirring up here across the western areas of Yellowstone National Park. A handful of earthquakes here, and this earthquake that kicked up here about 3 or 4 hours ago showed up pretty nicely across the majority of the seismograph stations here, indicating probably between a 2 and a 2.5 magnitude earthquake here. And there's some other earthquakes out here as well that are smaller, probably below the 2 range, but nothing showing up here from the USGS map today. This is from yesterday, so they not for sure if they're busy today, but maybe they'll get on it before checkout time. Pacific Northwest getting a little bit of activity out here across the Mount Rainier area. Did see a 2.4 out here just shy of the volcano, about 6 kilometers deep. So on that note, I do want to go over and check out the let's go check out the Mount Rainier seismograph station here real quick and see what's going on. By the way, yesterday 42 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia, continuing to decline. Those earthquakes that I just mentioned there outside Mount Rainier area, probably over here. So let's see if any of these seismograph stations are working here near Swift Creek. It's a BHZ station, 3-component broadband, many different types of seismograph stations out here. There's one of the quakes. That's probably going to be the 2-pointer. Doesn't look like we'll be able to see any of the smaller ones. So let's see here. What else we got here? Maybe this one will key up, hopefully. Yeah, that one picked it up as well, but I'm looking for a more sensitive seismograph station that can pick up, some of these smaller quakes. Let me see here. I may have to try a different channel, but it does look like there's a handful of other quakes in the area, just not picking it up here. There's that 2-pointer again. So we'll go back up here. I know there's at least one decent station up here that has a very sensitive reading on it in terms of picking up maybe even some of the smaller quakes. So let's see if this one has it. Yeah, this is the one. There's that 2-pointer right there. This is some type of instrument adjustment. Maybe another small earthquake here. Some of these may be ice as well. I mean, there's obviously a lot of snow up there, so when the wind's blowing around, snow blowing around, it can key up some of these readings, but it doesn't look like there's too much earthquake activity up there for now. But they're at least showing it here on the map. They're showing a handful of earthquakes out here, so we'll just continue to watch it. I can't really say super shallow, but about 5 to 6 kilometers here underneath the region. Also some activity outside Seattle area, a little bit deeper for a couple ones. Further down south into the northern California area, one earthquake here 30 kilometers deep into the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, 2.2. Remember, we did have some divergent activity out here within the last week. We did see things kind of kick up here a little bit following this activity. We've seen a 5.7 and a 4.7. These are divergent boundaries, indicating separation of the seafloor. Not magical separation in the instance, but slowly and gradually a new oceanic crust is being created, and that adds these ridges, ultimately adds strain over here. So it was almost immediately following these 5-pointers, or the 5-pointer and the other earthquakes, that we've seen activity stirring up here at the surface level of the Cascadia subduction zone, a 2.1 and a 1.8. And a little bit of activity here in Northern California. So still kind of watching that, following that movement. No doubt it's adding strain out there across the Cascadia, southern end at least. The rest of California, goodness, where is everything at? What's going on out here today? The 2.5 map completely disappears, all the earthquakes, and really not a whole lot to chat about. I guess if I had to pick an area, maybe it'd be right about here. 2.2 and a 1.7, that is on the Brawley seismic zone, just south of the San Andreas Fault, but nothing major going on out there in California for now. Hawaii looks about the same as yesterday. A handful of smaller quakes out here west of the Big Island. Really no major movement here to report across the area of the volcanoes. Let's see if they got their map working yet. Yes, it is working now. A little bit ago, for whatever reason, it wouldn't key up here in the Google browser, Chrome browser. All volcanoes look fairly quiet, except for the Great Sitkin volcano up along the Aleutian Trench. That's just been in a constant state of off and on activity for a little while. Cascades and the Sierra Nevada mountains, all quiet, Yellowstone included, aside from a couple small earthquakes there that I showed you. It is coming down outside. I can hear the rain right now. Hold on a second. Make sure I'm not... Yeah, it's coming down pretty good outside. We'll check out weather here in a little bit. But, yeah, everything's good on that. As far as the earthquake 3D globe, let's see if there's anything else that I'm missing out here. Iceland activity. Let's go see what's going on. And by the way, that 5-pointer out here in Greece, looks like the EMSC reporting that as a 5.9. followed up here by mini aftershocks, and I'm sure that will continue for a little bit. I don't think they're looking at anything larger. I mean, there's always a potential of that, seeing some further larger scale activity down across this area of the subduction zone, further closer to the Sea of Crete area. This is a region that can see some of the larger quakes there around that trench. But this activity, fairly shallow, and there has been some 6-pointers and some 7-pointers down here, but we'll continue to watch it. Either way, aftershock activity should be expected. As far as Iceland activity, let's go check out the Iceland map. Earthquake activity. Handful of earthquakes out here today, away from the Grindavik area, more so around this this lake region, looks like. The eruption is still ongoing, I believe. I'm going to double check that from the livefromiceland.is site. There's one of the main active vents continuing to produce quite a bit of lava here. Nice fountaining going on there today. A look at the broader view. Last night we seen 3 active craters. I'm still seeing 2. Kind of hard to tell from this third one over here. It does look like things are mellowing out slightly from this area. But it's still an ongoing deal. It's still erupting here for like day number... I think it's coming up on 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, we're coming up on 2 weeks right now. Let's see if we got any major changes here across the... well, this was put out a couple days ago. Doesn't look like there's anything new to report here from the folks there at the Icelandic Met Office, but we'll keep an eye on it. Just still constant eruption going on there. All right, so we've been doing this, and I have to do it until the eclipse happens. But we need to look at cloud cover and see what's going on here for the eclipse on the April 8th time period. Now, this is a GFS model from Pivotal Weather for the continental U.S. Cloud cover it is, and I'm going to check out the specific time frame here, which is going to be roughly right about here for the eclipse. Okay, now cloud cover, I'm not for sure why this is on the bottom right here, this shading. But anyway, the cloud cover is going to be in the light blue. That's solid 100% cloud cover all the way up into the northeast here, following that totality line. That is about the worst case scenario you can get. It almost looks like Mother Nature had intended for a low pressure system to tap into the subtropical jet. That's what this is right here, and just completely cover any viewing of the eclipse that's going on. That's quite crazy to think about, because this is a big deal for many, many people, including myself. I have plans set in stone to go out there and live stream the eclipse, document everything, get pictures. As of right now, if this stays consistent, I will not be going out. I don't think anybody will, because it doesn't make sense to go out there, observe rain and clouds, and then see darkness for about 4 minutes, and then it just gets light again. So this is a ways out here. But if you've been keeping track here, they've been staying pretty consistent here in terms of the... well, let's hold on a second. That was the 18th. Let me check out the most recent run. I forgot about that. Hold on, but this still looks... Well, this doesn't look too bad. It looks a little bit better. Yeah, I was just looking at that. That was from last night. For some reason, it didn't update when I clicked on the page here. So this is the 8th. And roughly between there and here is going to be the eclipse. Oh, man. I don't know if that's any better out here in Texas, because this is kind of where I plan to go out here. Maybe better out here across certain states, but yeah, that's still a lot of cloud cover coming in. There's a couple breaks out here, 5%. There might be some areas out there around Ohio look pretty clear. We'll have to check on that, but still there's that window of cloud cover coming in. Let me go back. I got to remember to make sure I update that run time. See, it went back to the 18th. That's probably because I have it linked up here. But let's check out the other weather model and see what this one has. This is put out today, and the model run for cloud cover is going to be roughly about 15, right about there. So there's some breaks out there, but I mean that's taking a big risk just for that little area of breaks. But it does look like certain areas may be open up here, but that's gonna be, that's gonna be taking a chance, because it does look like general cloud cover in the area, and that lasts for a couple days. Look at that, the whole area being covered with clouds and rain following that day. Prior to that, on Sunday, let's see, Sunday, that's going to be, right there, it's going to be Sunday night at around 6 p.m. A lot of cloud cover already. As you go into the day on Monday, there is some breaks in the clouds, but it looks like it reinforces and re-enhances this area for storminess and clouds. A couple areas upstream here, folks. We'll have to come back and watch it, maybe pick out a location that may be prime. But it does look like there's a big weather maker in play here as we get close to the April 8th time period. And we can see that here on some of these model runs. A low pressure system will be tapping into the subtropical jet, which is down here. So right about here or so. It doesn't look like there's a lot of precipitation on that day, but there's definitely going to be some cloud cover, and that's going to be due to the subtropical jet here that's going to be streaming in. That's the 8th, right about here. Go back a little bit. It does look like it's positioned more to the west compared to last night. Last night we had this jet streaming right into the Texas area, so we'll have to watch it. Either way, it's it's getting closer, and with each model run here, it will be more accurate. I think once we get down to about 72 hours prior to the eclipse on that Monday, then we can say with certainty where the breaks in the clouds are going to be, or who may or may not be able to see the eclipse on Monday. So we'll continue to watch it here, folks. Not this Monday, but on April 8th. As far as California goes, we do definitely have some decent rain coming in right now. Let me go over to the I want to go over here. There's our low pressure system just spinning offshore. It's going to bring in some decent amount of rain to the entire state here of California before moving over and creating a big time severe weather threat across this area of the country. Let's check that out real quick from the Storm Prediction Center. For day 4 and day 5, look, they already added a 30% chance there on day 4 for severe weather. So that is Monday. Day 5, that severe weather shifts further to the east, but it does look like things are going to be quite crazy out there in terms of the severe weather potential. We'll check that out as it gets a little bit closer, but the Storm Prediction Center already putting out a 30% chance there for severe weather on Monday. And as you guys seen here on the weather model, that right here, there we go. I was wondering where that one went to. That things are going to get a little crazy out there, right there, associated with that low pressure that's over California right now. That's going to stir up the severe potential Monday into Tuesday. After that, there's that low pressure that's going to be potentially causing a lot of headaches come the eclipse. Right about here, it looks like. We'll have to watch this, though, folks. That low pressure is a little bit further to the west, limiting maybe the potential moisture out here across Texas and other areas upstream where the eclipse is going to be. But we'll just have to watch that. All right, space weather activity kind of jumped over that and went straight to the weather. But we are still seeing some flaring activity. Look at that. From departing sunspot 3614 or 3615, excuse me. That is an older image here of the magnetogram that sunspot harbors. Here's the latest image. It's getting almost out of sight, out of mind, folks. Way out there on the western limb, still visible. So anything that does blast off in terms of flaring activity will be geo-effective on the sunlit side of the Earth. Currently, what we're seeing right now from that C9.2 flare, you can kind of see it getting bright there. Lots of coronal holes taking shape out here across the sun. There's that C. Oh, actually, it looks like it peaked up almost into the M flare category. Yeah, it's an M flare. Looks like an M, barely an M1. So things are stair-stepping, still getting pretty active, but anything as far as like a CME, if this thing were to blast off a CME, it would not be Earth-directed, but we'll still get the effects of any flaring due to the proton activity that is shot off from these flares. There it is again, 3615. What's behind that? A whole lot of nothingness in terms of complexity. We do have several minor coronal holes out here, really nothing to write home about in terms of space weather activity. Right now, with that sunspot still on the visible disk, we got a 25% chance for an X flare, 75 for M flare, C flare at 99% chance, and really no major roars in the forecast as far as solar storming goes. Far side of the sun. Let's see if they've updated. It doesn't look like they've updated it. Yeah, well, really not all that active on the eastern limb. You know, obviously we have all this clearness that's going on. Really not a whole lot of complexity with these current sunspots. And off there on the far side of the sun, there's one sunspot out there that will be here in a while. It does look fairly nice and big. There's one right here, kind of a minor one, that will be approaching the eastern limb here soon, but really not counting too much from this one. So we'll see. Either way, I think we're entering into a little period here of quietness after 3615 departs further out of view. Seismograph stations look pretty quiet for now, folks. We'll continue to watch that, though. See how today's events go. Hope everyone has a good Friday. We'll catch you guys back out here later tonight. Let me see what we got here. There's our low pressure. Look at that. That is a beautiful low pressure. Spinning off, deepening here off the California coast. Going to bring in some decent rain, like I mentioned here, and a lot of wind, it looks like, for Southern California. It's going to just sit there and spin off the Bay Area, it looks like, bringing with it some rain and whatnot. Weather radar out here, far as right now goes. Got a little heavy shower that kicked in. Let's see what we got for the forecast. I don't really use this forecast on windy all that much, but it does look like they have an hour loop here. Is it going to let me? Kind of gives you an estimate of where the rain's going to be. Either way, expect a rainy day out here in California. And I'm kind of ready for a little bit more rain. It's cold, though. It was a pretty cold rain. All right, folks, have a good day. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on. Stay safe out there and just be on guard. A lot of crazy stuff going on here in the world. Take care, folks.